Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back in with another video, and this is another episode of collecting every LEGO Star Wars minifigure. If you're not familiar with the series, well, the title is pretty straightforward. I will say this does include those rare figures like the Chrome Gold C-3PO and the Cloud City Boba Fett, which I am very fortunate to have already. This is not, however, going to include the rare one-off figures like the solid gold C-3PO or the solid gold Boba Fett. To start things off this week, we have a pair of Droidicas. Now you might be wondering, what is the difference between these two Droidicas? Well, this one on the left side is from the 2013 Clone Troopers vs. Droidicas set. This is Droidica with pearl dark gray arms. So these little arms here are in pearl dark gray, even though they're technically legs on the Droidica. This one on the right side came out in the 2014 Republic AV7 canon set, and this is the Droidica with flat silver arms. Now, normally when I talk about these figures, I'll start with the one on the left and then move to the one on the right, but it honestly does not really make sense to talk about these two things separately because they're basically the same figure, like Malibu Stacy with new hat type of situation. Very small change between the two. And if I gotta give my honest opinion on this, I am not a fan of this Droidica whatsoever. I still am a firm believer that the original LEGO Droidica is the best one that they've made. And that's not even to say that that one is perfect. I think if LEGO really wanted, like, they could do an even better job than what we got with that one. But these Droidicas here have just not really done anything for me. I think it's really just the fact that they have these super long legs and these stubby little arms that just is really off-putting for me. Like, there's just, I don't know, it just looks so goofy to me. I think LEGO can do a much better job when it comes to Droidicas. It's sad to say, like, this is pretty much the newest version of the Droidica that we've gotten, but hopefully, we'll start getting some more droids soon, and hopefully with that will come more Droidicas. So put these two guys aside. Next up, we have a Sith Trooper. This is from the 2012 Sith Fury Class Interceptor set. I've shown other Sith Troopers on this series. However, this is the version of it with plain legs, so I believe some of the other iterations we looked at have had leg printing. This one, however, does not. I've pretty much given my thoughts on this figure already. I think design-wise, it's not really one of my favorite troop designs at all. I think that it was really weird for them to basically just make Darth Vader as a troop with a weirder, less good-looking face. Not a huge fan. If we do remove the helmet, you can see he's sporting a very generic, slight smirk on his face. So we'll go ahead and cover that back up. The torso detail looks good enough, I suppose, for what it's supposed to be. But I think this is definitely the inferior version of the two Sith Troopers that we got, being that this one does not have leg printing. Our next group are a couple of kind of weird variant figures. On the left, we have Chewbacca with quote-unquote dark tan leg fur. This came out in a series of books from 2020 to 2022. And the unique thing about this guy is, for whatever reason, in the run of those books, they didn't give him the standard, like, LEGO Chewbacca leg piece. They gave him, actually, Tarful's leg piece. So it's just not the same. It has, I believe, like, his face is, like, medium nougat print. The legs are dark tan. And if you look, like, really closely, you can tell there's definitely a difference between the print on his legs and the print on his face. So I don't know if it was just the case that somewhere in some warehouse they had, or some factory, they just had an excess of Chief Tarful legs. I think when it comes to these, like, ancillary materials that LEGO puts out, like books, watches, we end up with weird conglomerate figures like this of what I would imagine to just be whatever they had an excess of, and I'm guessing that's why we ended up with this Chewbacca with these particular legs, just so they could get rid of them. It's not really a bad looking figure. I think most people wouldn't even realize, like, oh, this is a different leg print. But it is, so this was another figure that I had to add to the wall. Next up, and this is the one that really, really disappoints me. This is Yoda. And this is the Yoda that came out in the 2023 Lucas Yoda Fountain set. So to give some, I guess, context to where this figure came from, I guess as like a May the 4th gift? It was basically some employee gift that Lucas film employees got from LEGO, and it was this Yoda, was sitting on a little fountain. But for whatever reason, I'm just gonna try to give LEGO the benefit of the doubt. There was an excess of Dobby legs, I'm guessing, maybe, who knows, in the factory, and we ended up with this Yoda figure with these flesh-toned feet, which is very bizarre. I've seen some people try to say like, oh, it's Yoda's boots. Well, newsflash, Yoda don't actually wear boots. Yoda just kind of got his feet out like all the time. So that doesn't really make sense. And you know, you could maybe if Yoda was flesh tone, you could make the excuse like, oh, these are Yoda's feet, but this is not the color of Yoda's skin. I think honestly, this is kind of a cursed minifigure. And to add on top of the cursedness of this figure, people are trying to sell this thing on like eBay and Bricklink as a unique figure, quote unquote. And I think the cheapest one on Bricklink even right now is like $30. Now, there's nothing unique about this figure. The torso and head are both the same one that we've been getting for like original trilogy Yoda and the last two Yoda's headsets that we got. And the Dobby legs are obviously not exclusive. They're Dobby's legs. They've come in, I think, a CMF figure as well as at least one set that Dobby has come in. You can acquire all the elements of this figure for cheaper than $10, honestly. But people, I guess, out there are paying like $30 to $50 to get this because it's a quote-unquote exclusive Lucasfilm employee gift. So if you're out there and you're thinking about buying this figure, I think the only reason anyone would want to buy this figure is to just, like, for completion's sake. Please do not pay the prices people are asking for this thing. It is very easy to just acquire all the elements to it. Be smart, guys. And for our final group, we have two very expensive minifigures. Starting off on the left, we have Captain Rex from the 2011 Battle of Geonosis set. This is one of two Phase 1 Captain Rexes that LEGO has put out. The unique thing about this one is he is sporting his antenna. The original P1 Captain Rex, which came out in the ATTE set from 2008, had a visor instead, which was a weird choice. But LEGO made up for that blunder, quote unquote. I mean, obviously, you know, LEGO hates the Clone Wars and they hate clones. And even back in 2008, they were showing their anti-clone bias by daring to give us a Rex minifigure with a visor rather than an antenna. Because y'all know how LEGO be. But they did fix it. It took them 3 years, but they made things right, at least for the meantime. He has this unique face print under the helmet. I'm gonna quickly cover that back up because you know we don't want to be exposed to those Clone Wars faces too often, guys. But I guess in terms of how I actually feel about this figure, I mean, you guys know, not a fan of the animated styling whatsoever. I think that the like ranked like P1 clones are a little bit better. I guess there's more color and they're just more visually interesting. But I still am team realistic style of art, and I would love to see like a modern version of this that has a more realistic take on P1 Rex. It's P1, any of those like Clone Wars clones, honestly, I think are far overdue for an update, because at this point, you know, all these years later, over 10 years later, this is the most updated like P1 Rex that we have. So definitely overdue for an update for that guy. And then next up, last but certainly not least, we have a tactical droid. This is another 2011 figure. This came out in Mace Windu's Jedi Starfighter. And this figure has no right being as expensive as it is, at least in my opinion. Like, this came out in a super cheap set. Honestly, similarly to the Rex, but this figure is actually more expensive than P1 Rex, surprisingly enough. It is a droid. It is a tactical droid, and it does look good. I think that like the printing, like on the chest, looks really nice. The head mold, I mean the head is connected to the chest, but like just the molding of the entire body, I think actually looks quite good. And especially like for a Clone Wars figure, like this thing is quite nice. I can't even try to flex on it, but it's just so expensive for no reason, guys. I don't know. This one definitely hurt me a little bit when I had to purchase it, but I will say it is nice to have. This is one of the few figures that I have added to my minifig wall that is actually a character that I just didn't have before. A lot of the figures that I have left on my list are just variations of characters that I already have at least some version of, but up until this point, I have not owned an actual tactical droid. So as a completionist in terms of just having characters, this figure does fill a blank for me. And like I said, it is quite a good looking figure. I am going to handle this thing so carefully. The one I have here, is in really good condition. All the joints are still super stiff, and I'm not gonna play with that at all. I will let this thing sit on its own on my wall and not mess with it as long as I don't have to. So that's all the figures out of the way, guys. Let's go ahead and put them on the wall. All right, it's that time of the week where we are once again checking out the minifig wall, and boy, is it looking gorgeous. So we got a cluster of Droidicas right here. I still don't really have a nice way to mount these guys yet. They just take up a little bit more space than a normal minifig would, so this is kind of how they're going to be looking. I think once I rearrange this, I'm definitely going to take into account the bigger figures and maybe give them a little bit more space to be able to display them in a, I don't know, a way that kind of makes sense along with these guys. Either that or, I don't know, I'm kind of thinking maybe it might also make sense to just have a separate area with all the, like, things that are bigger than a minifigure. Kind of like I have, you know, the Jabbas down here. Just having a separate spot for those might honestly be the move, as opposed to trying to cram them between what is, you know, mostly just an actual dedicated minifigure wall. So we'll keep that into consideration. Over here, we placed the Sith Trooper, and it's kind of funny because I feel like multiple times during this episode we had like a chain of events. Like when I placed this Sith Trooper, I realized that I already had the one with the printed legs here, so I had to move him actually over here, which was funny because I was still near the Droidicas. And funny enough, when I placed the Droidicas, I realized that I had another variant of the Droidica right here, and it needed to go elsewhere, so that ended up moving down here. And I realized I also already had one down here, which meant that I had a duplicate of it, which is actually good news because, I mean, just to give you, I guess, a quick breakdown, these two Droidicas are the ones with the like triangular pieces on the back, but Bricklink has one of them with stickers and one of them without stickers. And I guess at some point I had the one with stickers, and then I ordered a second one with stickers. So I'm just going to take the stickers off of one of them, and then I'll have both of them, and there's no need for me to buy another one of that figure. So it's actually nice that I, for one, you know, didn't go ahead and buy that figure a third time, but instead I'm just able to make use of the one that I accidentally bought twice. Unfortunately, the Yoda and the Chewbacca just are two new figures to go on this wall. This wall basically stops kind of like, I think, mid-2020, so those guys had to go in a special bin. To finish off this episode, we did have a cluster of figures up here. These both were 2011 figures, so it makes sense that they're next to each other. We got that beautiful tactical droid and that Captain Rex minifigure as well. So it's cool to be, once again, just filling up holes in this upper section of the wall, and we are getting so close to the actual goal. And you'll also see up here, I have that original Captain Rex P1 figure. So those two aren't super far from each other on the wall. So to take a step back, I think things are looking pretty good. Things are progressing well enough. We are, I believe, definitely under 30 figures to go, which is just, I don't know, just sounds so surreal to be that close to collecting all the figures. Like I said, the only downside is there's still so many expensive figures left that I need to collect, but not going to dwell on that right now. Right now, just going to appreciate what we have, and then hopefully in the next update we can knock at least one of those stupidly expensive figures off of the list, and then just try to tread through it and just move our way through it, and hopefully, you know, once we get to the end of this road, we'll be better off because of it, or some other inspirational thing. But that's pretty much all I got for you guys this week. Hope you enjoyed another minifig wall update. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.